G'day everyone. Proud to say Barkarati is brought to you by Radix Nutrition, makers of the most technically comprehensive nutrition products that have ever existed. Unlock your potential with Radix. G'day listeners, welcome to Barkarati the Sailing Podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer. It's that time of the week where we get to hang out with some really cool sailors, but of course I have to share the mic with my two idiot mates. So first off, let's welcome Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, exalted one.
How are you, BP?
I'm very well. Who says it's never sunny in England? It's bloody beautiful here at the moment.
Oh,
Just don't know.
you got your cricket pad ready to go and pull the bat
I'm
out?
going to go and shoot up the Lords and have a knock. No, it's good. Lucky with the weather at the moment.
I'm glad you're having a good time, mate. Let's bring in the other bloke, see where he is.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Bice.
Not the first time you've said that, BP. Actually, I reckon you could be the good luck charm in the United Kingdom, bringing the nice weather.
I tend to tow the sun around.
And as for you and I, Jordan Spencer, it's an afternoon record for us.
Oh,
and you know what that means?
Beer o'clock.
Having a beer. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, it's good.
So,
Yeah, it's good. Good timing.
Very rare.
coming into Easter, of which you'll be hosting part of the commentary team for the Brisbane to Gladstone.
Yep.
I'm guessing it's, the weather's never normally like this.
Oh.
We'll chat about that
Yep,
after. But moving forward, though, could we be interviewing the most decorated man in
Don't give it
yachting?
away. Don't give it away. We could
People
be.
are guessing. People are guessing
Well,
who it is.
Here's my theory. We're going to bring him in now. Okay, so if you ever sat down and wondered if you're a decent sailor, right? What's the ultimate test if you're a decent sailor? And I'm going to throw a test out to you. If Ben Ainsley rings up and says, can you come and help my America's Cup team be a better starter, do better at starting, you probably have some serious mastery of the sport. Like, you'd have to think that, wouldn't you? You'd have to think that. That's my test. He's never rung me to help him with any coaching, but he has rung our guests. So this week, we've probably got the king of his particular branch. Well, he is the king, as Bicey said, alluded to it, 8-time world match racing champion, Ian Williams. It doesn't get any better. Welcome to Barkarati, mate. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good, thanks.
Is it hard to be humble?
It's hard to be humble. I think it's important to be realistic in this sport. You've got to know your place, where you are, and where you're trying to get to, and keep working. And we've all got a lot of improvements to make, I'm sure.
Hey, Ian, just looking behind you there, you've got a bunch of boxes. Are they all your Congressional Cup jackets in there?
Yeah, well, you know what? They're not all here. I keep one in Long Beach with my great host, John Sangmeister, and family, so I don't have to pack it into a bag each time. And so they really look after me and keep it dry cleaned and ready for the next one.
Wow.
Nice.
That's cool. That's very, very cool. Mate, it must be it must be hard to sort of comprehend your lifestyle. I think that's, I can't get my head around it, like that, living the life. Like when you turn up to an event, the pressure, do you feel any pressure? Do you feel expectation? Do kids, do they close the town down and give you a key every time you come to a new city? Like, it must be, is it weird being you? Sorry, bub. We'll be serious.
I didn't answer that question. So. Is it weird being you?
I think I think maybe you're overstating it a little bit.
I know.
Look, it's a fantastic lifestyle. It's a lifestyle I chose over a very different one about 20 odd years ago. It's tough being away from the family so much, but you can, I wouldn't change it. It's it's an incredible way to make a living, really, doing something that I'm so passionate about and really enjoy.
What sort of lawyer were you before you gave away the law game? What were you, like a barrister, solicitor?
I structured private equity investment funds, was kind of my area of specialism. So fairly involved. I did 2 years training in London and then a year and a half qualified at a firm called Ashurst. I actually quite enjoyed it. I wasn't necessarily desperate to get out, but I always had an ambition to take my sailing to where I could, and at that time, that's when really the opportunities came up for me, and that was really what drove the decision to leave that life and join this one.
Wow,
it's a big call, isn't it? To leave lawyer to become a professional sailor.
Structuring equity fund stuff that went nuts in the last few years. Like there would have been plenty of money in that as well. That was a serious part of the world.
Yeah, it wasn't a financial orientated decision, mine, that's for sure.
I think for most of us, it's the same, Ian.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, so let's get you into the sailing. So, like me, you made a conscious decision to start sailing early. I was 10 days old when I decided to go sailing, and you were 6 months old when you decided to sail across the English Channel. Did much thought go into that first journey?
I think a lot of screaming went into it. I was probably seasick. I mean, I don't think anybody would have known, why I was screaming. But probably seasick. So I do suffer a bit with that. I get different stories actually. My parents, who sadly not with us now, but they tell one story, and then a great friend of theirs, after they passed away, told me a completely different version of that crossing. He was on board. So I don't know much of the truth, but yeah, no, my parents were huge sailors. I'm really keen, both of them really into the cruising, and that was a lot of our family life growing up was cruising the family Contessa 32 across the channel to Brittany. And so for sure it's like most, not all, but most sailors start young, don't they? And kind of get it in the blood.
It's
and was that a were your parents fully, like, or your old man or mum fully into yachting, and that's what just kept you involved, or grew up down the local yacht club type thing?
Yeah, a little bit. I really didn't enjoy the cruising on the 32 when I was small, because I was basically too small to do anything. The loads were all too high. They wouldn't let me go near a winch, understandably, for my own safety. I got seasick. So actually it's kind of ironic, but the only other option at the time was to go crewing in a cadet for Conrad Humphreys. That was the only way to get out of going around the bay on a Saturday afternoon. So, I picked the lesser of two evils is a little bit a harsh way to look at it, but no, that's sort of what drove me into getting into the racing side of things. And it's a good upbringing in the cadet, that you get to go and crew and learn from somebody a lot more, a lot older, a lot more experienced, and gets you into the competitive side of it.
Yeah, that's a really smart point. I like that, because the cadets do offer that, and it seems to be very much the culture of that class. And so that once you got into that, you got into racing, and racing just has been your life ever since. So how old were you when you jumped into cadets?
I'd have been around 9 or 10.
Yep.
Crewing there. I did 2 or 3 years in the front of one, getting whipped hard. And then
when skippers used to be skippers, crew used to be crew, and just whip them hard.
Exactly.
Hold on to the jib.
I did the story with the cadets. I did 1 year without jib cleats, and then back in the day, you basically just cling on to this jib and pull it as hard as you can. And you get told every 10 seconds, pull the jib in. And then after a year of that, they introduced cleats, which was just, saved us so much, made it thoroughly more enjoyable. Then I decided it'd be more fun to be on the back of the boat and doing the whipping. And yeah, I mean, we had an incredible group in Exmouth in Devon, southwest of the UK. When I talk about, I crewed for Conrad Humphreys, and then, sailing with me, Joe Glanfield, Mark Rhodes, Ben Rhodes' brother.
Yeah.
So it was amazing to think that we all grew up together, and those guys have obviously gone on to great things.
Yeah, I just when you started talking about that no cleats on the cadet, like it's something that we used to have in a training class here, in a local, actually a South Australian training class, no cleats on the jibs. And the first thing I started doing Monty Python in my head, tell kids that today and they'd never believe you, like just how far, it's, I mean,
you didn't even have jibs on your jib for your FD, Jordan. That's when you used to sail them.
Yeah.
At 3 years of age.
Talk about when men were men.
You're saying cleats hadn't been invented yet, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, no. Yeah. So, I mean, thank God cleats were invented, because can you imagine all the poor kids trying to go through that? Like just the hand cramp, the pressure on your hands. God, poor kids. How'd you survive?
Yeah, well, I guess we all say, don't we? The kids aren't like they were used to. They're not as tough, and I think we've been saying it for whatever 2,000-3,000 years. So.
Says it,
Yeah.
I think kids are way better.
I think there's an app for it now, though. Yeah. You can probably just jam it with the app.
It's did you when you started racing, mate? Was that where you found the enjoyment once you got into doing this? But you could do all the things. You weren't just sitting there watching, and you weren't getting seasick. You were actually getting to participate. That's where you found the enjoyment, or was it your mates?
Yeah. I was definitely, when I was young. I still am, a competitive animal, and I think if I look back at all the sports I played, I hated practice in any of the sports I played, and the enjoyment always came from the competing. And actually in sailing, certainly when I did it, it was almost always you go out for the Wednesday evening race or the Saturday race. There wasn't a lot of time spent practicing. The training was done during the racing, and I enjoyed that. I think that definitely probably encouraged me to continue. As opposed to I look at, well, my son's really into his golf, and the amount of hours. I mean, I'm so impressed with him, the amount of hours he can spend practicing for a small time in competing. I don't think I'd have ever had the discipline to do that at that age.
And for golf as well. God. What were the other sports you were doing?
I don't know if you call it a sport. I was a really keen chess player up until about 10 years old. And then my main sports at school were rugby and hockey, which are winter sports here, and guess that allowed me to play those sports, and then sailing took over in the summer.
Did chess sort of build your tactical mind in a subconscious way? Because you obviously excelled as you grew into the match racing. Did that sort of help?
Yeah, I think it did. I really enjoyed it when it was all about figuring it out for yourself. And that's the thing I think I've most enjoyed with match racing, is being innovative and trying to take the game forward. I think I gave up chess because I got to sort of age 10 or 11, and the teachers or people looking after said, right, you really need to study this guy's moves and his openings. And I'm like, study? What are you talking about? Nobody told me I was going to have to study
it's just a game.
Right, exactly. And study sounded a lot like school and didn't sound that much fun. And that's really, I sort of drift, it wasn't a conscious decision. Suddenly I'm not going to do this anymore, but I kind of drifted out of it. Coincided with doing more sailing, and but as I say, I enjoyed.
And the cool kids didn't play chess.
The cool kids didn't play chess. No, apparently not. That's why I was doing it.
Oh.
No, I'm just having a joke. But it's a great game, but I'm sure that's what sort of led over to what you got going on.
Yeah, no, for sure. I enjoy the tactical, and especially like the figuring out side of it.
It's interesting. So, if you guys the listeners aren't familiar with Ian, obviously we're talking about the 8 world match racing titles, but there's, championships in a whole bunch of other classes, so normal sailing outside of match racing, you just go and look at the circuit, so from cats to far 40s to the TPs to everything, right? So, but the match racing is where you are just absolutely dominant. And I'm just wondering, so we probably will talk a bit more about match racing than anything, but do you remember the first time you got the opportunity to go match racing?
Yeah, I do. I remember it well, actually. My good friend Richard Sydenham was looking for a crew for the youth match racing nationals in the UK, and he asked me, which was, I guess, it's one of those sliding doors moments. In that if he'd picked somebody, I picked somebody better, then I wouldn't have done it. So yeah, that was a big moment. We were able to win that, and that essentially gave us a ticket to go to New Zealand to do what was called the NutraSuite Cup, which is the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron Youth International Match Race Regatta. And that was an incredible experience. We went out a week early, and the Steinlager Cup was on, so we got to see Russell and all, Peter and all the other guys racing the week before, and then we went and competed. We won in New Zealand as well, which was fantastic.
Wow.
And that was the start of it, really. I think that was what opened my eyes to the world, the world of kind of professional sailing, because I wasn't particularly inspired. I never even sort of thought about being a professional sailor until then. It also coincided with the Team New Zealand being sent off to San Diego for the '95 Cup. They literally left after that Steinlager Cup, and there was a big show, and at the club that we went to, and yeah, it was a hugely inspiring moment for me to go there and see all that and open my eyes to what the possibilities were.
Did you just wear red socks after that?
It was with a red. Yeah, it was. I don't think the Red Sox hadn't started.
Maybe it started during in San Diego, I think.
Yeah,
actually, yeah,
they got going there. That was definitely that was a cool thing. For sure, we were big. I had all the Team New Zealand kit, and spent all my last pennies on the gear down there, and big supporter of theirs during that cup.
Wow, wow,
huge.
I'm really intrigued. Like the first time that match racing, everyone, there is a lot of focus on the skippers in match racing, but you need a totally switched on crew that can see what's coming, so they can hold the boat stable to windward, sitting head to wind, or they can back it out, or they know you've got to be able to think. You need your crew to be able to think automatically of what's coming next. To be successful. And I'm just wondering, your first regatta, you went first, and then you went first in the next one, in the international regatta. Did you have much knowledge of match racing, or you were just doing what you were told, or how did it work?
There's zero knowledge. Richard had a bit. He crewed for his brother the year before and done the regatta in New Zealand. And with Adam May on the bow, he'd been there as well. So they certainly knew a lot more than I did. I think we were lucky that our competitors knew us pretty much as we did, which was not very much, honestly, in those days. I think people they think of match racing as maybe a different sport, or they think a lot about the rules and the technicalities of it. When you start, if you sail the boat fast around the course, that's the main challenge. And I think we did a nice job of that, of figuring out how to sail the boats fast. And we, as I say, we didn't know much about match racing, but nor did the other guys. And to be honest with you, it's when you end as well, I still think that we focus, and we really try to be as fast as we can around the course. And I think often that still is the differentiator, even at the top level, particularly because we're sailing unfamiliar boats. It's not like we have a lot of time in the boats we're sailing. Often we haven't sailed that type of boat, since the same regatta a year before. And so trying to figure out how to make a new boat go is a huge part of the World Match Racing Tour and being successful on it.
I can imagine, obviously you would have continued to sail the same sort of boats for some time And then when the M32s came in, it's a bit of a shake up for everyone, right?
Yeah. I mean, huge shake up. It was a really interesting time with Hawken buying the tour and putting a lot of investment in. And yeah, we all had to go out and figure out how to sail M32s and particularly tack them. And yeah, I mean, it was definitely just a bit frustrating for me that we didn't. I didn't win the World Match Racing Tour. I think there were 3 World Championships in those, and we never made the final. I think we 2 quarters and a semi or something like that. So not especially good. We were decent, but not as good as. I mean, Phil was really strong in them, and then Torvar won in China as well. Congrats to them.
It's interesting some of the names that you've raced against too, because so many of them, a few of them have ended up on SailGP, and I wonder if you look longingly across at SailGP and wonder.
Yeah, I obviously do SailGP as a coach, and there's definitely a little bit of jealousy that of not ever being able to get out there and do it. But yeah, I guess it's the way it goes. I didn't, ultimately, if I'd done better, if I'd sailed better in that M32, then maybe that opportunity would have come along. So you can try as hard as you can, and you end up where you end up.
You did win a world championship in the M32.
It's kind of in an owner-driver as a tactician in an owner-driver context. I still sail the M32. I just got back from Miami sailing it last week, and I really enjoy. I think it's a fantastic owner-driver type boat. It offers really good speed, good excitement, but also quite controllable sailing. I really enjoy that side of it for sure.
Hey, Ian, is it true during the times with the M32 and the Match Racing Tour that there was a bit of a deal between some of the teams, that because there was a big prize purse and there was going to be to share the purse, or was that a bit of a rumor?
Yeah, no, I know what you're getting at there. So Hawken put up $1 million for the winner of the World Match Racing Tour, and but it wasn't nothing for second, because the event itself still had prize money, which went down. But it was obviously massively, and I understand why he did that. He wants to create a splash. And you look, SailGP has a very similar policy of very much compensating the top teams and not the bottom ones. But I think we all felt sponsorship was obviously hard to come by. We were really lucky to have GAC Pindar as a sponsor, but a lot of the teams were doing it without sponsors, and so the prize money becomes your operating income. And so I think all the teams felt that that wasn't the right thing, and that everybody needed to get something. Of course, the winner should get lion's share, and so that we did have a pre-agreement before that final in Marstrand to share the prize money, which we all signed up to. Whether it would have stood up in court or not, I don't know, but it didn't need to, because Phil did the right thing and honoured the agreement and paid out and facilitated through Aston Harold. We all got to share. We made the quarterfinals and we got a small part of it. That is right. That was a sailor. Chris Main actually was the main driver of it. He was sailing with Taylor at the time. Exactly. So I think it was a good initiative by him. Everybody bought into it, and I think it showed good solidarity. We need a union really in the sport, but it's not easy to.
We got plenty of unions.
Oh yeah.
I'm just wondering which yachty out there would have said, yeah, we'll do that, and then just ran with the money.
Probably Jordan.
No, integrity, mate. I've never even stolen.
I'll let you name the names. I think I'll keep quiet on that.
Yeah. That's probably
No,
best.
but I think from a sporting sort of side of it, it enabled everyone to keep going the next year, I suppose, and that's what it's about. Without competition and without competitors, you don't have a competition.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I've been doing the World Match Racing Tour for a long time, and it's hard to budget when there's prize money involved because you obviously don't know, whether you're going to win it or not. But it forms the prize money forms part of the budget, and you need it to be able to go and do the events. It's not just a cherry on top, and so being able to know that if you perform that if you come second or third that you're going to be able to get something, and as you say, carry on next year, I think is crucial.
Is there a level of angst when you go and set up your year? You go, okay, well, we've got this budget, here's what we need to do just to get to each event, and then you go, but if we win, we'll do this, and if we come second, we'll do this. I mean, is that come into your forecasting?
Yeah, I think my philosophy, and you touched on it earlier, how important the team is. My philosophy has always been try to set out as good a deal for the crew at the start of the year as possible, as I can essentially risk doing, to try and get a stronger team. They all have other
stability
offers.
and stability with that.
Yeah, and stability, and they all have offers from other pro sailing, which are more lucrative, probably not as fun in most cases. And so, yeah, I'm trying, I can't compete with the billionaires that they're sailing with financially, but I can try and at least make it not too painful for them to come sailing with me, financially, I mean. And so I set out and I try and offer them, as good a deal as I can, get a stronger team, and what you find, obviously, if you get a strong team, then you end up exceeding the prize money expectations, and then then everybody's happy. And so that's the philosophy around that, and it's worked out reasonably well for me, and for, I think for them as well. So pleased with how that's worked.
Yeah.
Good.
Who obviously you've had probably quite a few people in and out of the team, but you would have some serious stalwarts there as well, right? Who are your main players type thing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess
I know, but yeah, for the listener.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I guess Jerry Mitchell's the guy that's been with me and still with me the longest. He did let me think about this. He did the 2008 World Championship win, and then the last one. So he missed. He did a few events in the first one, but wasn't at the final. Wasn't regular part of the team, but he's kind of been regular since then. Richard Sydenham, as I've already mentioned, that I'd sailed with back in the youth days, has been back with me since 2008 as well, on and off. But actually, I think a lot of it's been about reinventing the whole team. I've had a few different tacticians, Bill Hardesty, Chris Main, and Richard Sydenham were the main ones. But before I was on the World Match Racing Tour, had other guys as well. A lot of different barrowmen. My brother sailed with me for up until 2007, and did an incredible job. And then a few different barrowmen over the years. Since then, a lot of it's about reinventing the team. Every time you get a new person on board, the dynamic changes. They come with different strengths and weaknesses, and
the hard
you
part.
you have to kind of adapt the team and the way you work together, to make the best use of the skills you have on board. And so, yeah, I really do. And obviously with the going to different boats at each regatta, it could be a 4-man, it could be a 5-man. That changes the dynamic a lot as well, with the communication, who has to do what roles. And so organizing that and getting everybody comfortable with their roles, I think is a huge part of it.
Be a lot of work. It's interesting that, Bicey, you pulled up the crew thing, but I was just thinking when we started talking about the M32s, made me realise that the competition, like when you were starting to crack it in the World Match Racing stuff, you would have been racing, Pete Gilmore would have been the man. But then in the M32s, I reckon you were racing Sam Gilmore in those things.
Yeah, and David, yeah.
Yeah, and David.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're absolutely right. You know, my first match race tour regatta was World Match Race Tour was 2005. I'm pretty sure Peter was there, and you know, he was really ruling the tour at that time. I think partly because the reason I got onto the World Match Racing Tour is a lot of the Cup guys were moving, you know, were getting too busy in the lead up to Valencia in 2007, and they'd taken all the slots up until that point. And then they were moving out. I think at that time, Peter was one of the few of those kind of that genre who didn't have a job. I guess he joined Alinghi, I think, as a coach later. So he was, you know, I guess, you know, the leftover and was, absolutely dominating. You know, it was a really interesting journey going up against him, getting absolutely smashed to start with, but slowly figuring out what we needed to do to beat him. And it was it's quite, when it happened quite quickly. I think there's an element of rock paper scissors to match racing as well. And so what you end up doing is you have your target guy, so Peter Gilmore, and say he's rock. So we became paper basically, and ended up being very strong against him, not necessarily against everybody else, but ended up in a place with a system and a technique to be very effective against him and his team.
It's an interesting point. Obviously, there's quite a few familiar people on the tour every year. Eventually, you must work out their strengths and weaknesses, and same for you. They're obviously trying to work you out on the water as well. Do you find that that's easy to manage, and you got to try and cover any weaknesses that you might have, and then obviously attack with the strengths?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I say, Peter was our target, and we were very focused on how we were going to beat him. Since then, a lot of the time we've been the target, and people have been coming up with ways to attack us. I think is more the thing, and then it's how do you counter that? And for sure, people have come in and with different techniques to beat us, and some have been pretty effective with it. But that actually just highlights where your weaknesses are. And then you go back to the drawing board, work on your weaknesses, and try and eliminate them.
Is there any one maneuver?
Like chess. I was just going to say it sounds so much like chess.
Yeah. Or cricket. You guys mentioned cricket earlier, and with the Ashes coming up, it's always a good analogy. But certain batsmen, where their strengths and weaknesses are, right? Some guys don't like
who can get them.
Ball. Yeah, and which bowlers, and there's. I think that's a pretty good analogy for match racing as well. Strengths and weaknesses. Where do you target?
I'm just looking through the Hall of Fame, Ian.
Sorry, Nick.
And Gilly, Peter won it 3 times in a row: 04, 05, 06. You've obviously won it the most 8 times, and you're about to go for the triple, right? You've won it the last 2 years. About to go for the triple this year. To basically, what do they say? If you win it, well, you've owned this trophy now a couple times over. As far as you win something 3 times, you basically own it, right? So, I mean, no pressure, but you've got to go 3 in a row, of course.
It's a very fine trophy. So if you can get that in writing for me, Nick, that would be great. And
once a lawyer, always a lawyer.
yeah, there you go.
I was just going to say earlier, you were talking about the tactics. Is there any one maneuver that you can remember that just totally blew your mind? And went, oh God, he's got me. Because obviously the competition's tight, but there must have been one time where you just went, that's it. I just got nothing to come back on.
Yeah. I think there was one in the M32 I actually can look at when but actually not. We won't say it was Phil pulled it off against somebody else, which was just like a Mark 1. He managed to he was behind and managed to kind of jibe set inside the other boat, and roll them out of the jibe. I think it was a lay down or certainly a long port jibe, and it was really impressive how he managed to handle the boat, and I guess that's Phil all over, isn't it? See an opportunity and go and execute it. Pretty high risk, but pulled it off. I think those boats lent themselves to that sort of maneuvering. I think in the monohull match racing, it's all pretty locked in what you can do. Actually, no, I do have one again. Watching long time ago, it would have been 1999, I think, and seeing Russell Coutts get in Bermuda, get hooked by I think it was Gavin Brady. Gavin leading back, Russell following, and he got locked to windward, above ley line for the committee boat. Normally, you're done, and he was able to back the jib and essentially stall the keel and bring the tiller to windward and kind of move his boat sideways by half a length, which then unlocked the hook, and then he went straight down and then did the reverse hook on Gavin, and so that was pretty impressive. We spent hours and hours practicing that. Never pulled it off.
Wow.
A couple of Kiwis wouldn't be surprised there would have been a punch up on the beach after that either.
Well, yeah, quite possibly.
It's that you've given some secrets away. I'll be honest, listening in, like, you've touched on a couple of the key things with match racing. That boat speed element. It's 100% true, because one of the elements you don't know what you can't control is the judging, the umpiring. And if you've got some volatility there, or just you've stepped on someone's toes, you've got to take that umpire out. You've got to out of the equation by just sailing the boat better.
How you do it, Jay?
By sailing the boat better. Sorry, faster.
I wonder how you got to become so successful, Jay. You just killed everyone.
and that crew work element, just to be able to execute the maneuver as you see it is just so critical, and just that ability to do that. To me, that's everything in match racing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a few points there on the umpire side. Yes, definitely the philosophy is from my perspective, to actually try and take them out of the game. I'd say there were two world championships that I really feel got away, and on both of those, we allowed the umpires to come into the game and didn't go our way. And I look back, and the ones that we've won are where we've been able to keep them out. So that's definitely been my philosophy. But I think that's also a strength weakness point. I've never felt that the umpires see it the way I do.
Yeah.
And
who'd have thought?
But they do. For some teams, it's definitely a strength. Is using the umpires, and they're right to lean on that strength. The boat speed point, I remember a big regatta, and each debrief was like, how come we went the wrong way again, and then it dawned on me, literally 2 or 3 months later, it's actually not possible to go the wrong way every time, and obviously we were slow, and you don't get a lot of feedback in match racings, particularly if you're doing a lot of splits. You never get lineups. Even the lineups you do get, they're always trying to squeeze off or
not
in there or
VMG type thing.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't really get. So it's actually hard to know whether you're not fast or not. And I think I spent the first big portion of my match racing career not being fast enough to win the world championships, but not realizing. The debrief would always focus on the moment we got past or whatever it was, and I think it was Ed Baird. We were sailing and first he beat us 10 straight the first 10 times I raced him, but we'd got the first cross in 7 more than 50% of those races. And I was like, what's he doing to always overtake us? Well, what he was doing was staying close behind and waiting for the opportunity. And when once he was ahead, he would just sail off. We wouldn't even be able to keep it close. And that was that was really a boat speed thing, just being smooth and fast around the course. It took me way too long to figure that out. But when I did, then all in all your practice, training, warm up, everything, much more boat speed focus, and that was a huge turning point for me. So that if somebody wants to take some advice from this call, that would be it. Be fast, and every second around the race course counts.
On top of this, though, you've got different boats, and so you've got to try and learn all the different boats, and each boat's got a plus and a minus. There's no boat that's 100% perfect, so that must have added a challenge to it.
Oh, mate, imagine you go straight from the Catalina,
to
the
Far East 28
to Bermuda in the old dressed up dragon. Yeah,
the dressed up dragon. Yeah. Tillers, wheels, genoas, jibs, A sails. Spinnakers. It's a lot of differences, and you definitely see some people are stronger in some boats than others. It's the Far East. We don't actually really know why, but we seem to be pretty fast in the Far East 28s. Bermuda, on the other hand, I've really struggled with. Been there, 12, 13 times. We have won a couple of times, but it's a shifty venue and got some very good shifts. We've always struggled a little bit with boat speed there. But you look at some some people absolutely dominate there. I don't know whether it sails like a Finn, but Russell was just unbelievable there, and Ben as well.
Ben's good.
Had an incredible record in Bermuda. And so I don't know whether there's some Finn techniques that I need to get out and learn, but yeah, we've really struggled there.
It might be the rum in Bermuda. Goslings.
How can you handle your rum? Yeah, well, maybe I need to get in some real training done.
I think the technique is you drop your boom in the water and give it a good pump, and then scoop water. That's
what are you putting foot straps in the middle of the boat for?
Yeah.
That's the Finn technique.
Hike harder.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite boat out of all the boats you get to sail in that?
Actually, no. I really enjoy we say we find Bermuda hard. I do, but I really enjoy the challenge of trying to learn, the new boat. So in some ways, I enjoy the harder ones more, the ones that don't suit us, because of the, I don't enjoy the result as much, but the challenge of trying to figure out how to get the thing going, is really enjoyable. And so, the conclusion of that is actually that for me is the great thing about the World Match Racing Tour, is the fact that it's in different boats, and you have to go and we go to Congressional Cup with dip pole jibes, six people on board. It's it's a hugely different challenge to sailing the Far East 28s in completely different venues as well. Long Beach, generally pretty steady sea breeze. And then you go to Shenzhen, and then the wind's coming out of the skyscrapers, and it's all over the place.
It's interesting though, because we have to sort of come to the modern era though, like with match racing. So obviously in the Cup that's just been, we're talking falling boats and the whole game about starting. It's all a new game, and you got sucked in, you got brought in to help out. As part of a coaching role, and let's be honest, the Poms were doing a brilliant job with their starting, and so I'm intrigued. What was your thoughts coming into looking at falling boats and how you match race start these things?
Yeah, it was incredible opportunity. Go back to the start. The reason I gave up my job as a lawyer, one of the big reasons was to try and do the America's Cup for a British team, and try and get the thing back here, which we haven't managed to do for 174 years and counting, I think, isn't it?
It's a long time.
It's a long time. Yeah.
51.
Yeah.
From memory.
Just yeah. Exactly. So to get the opportunity to go out and try and contribute was incredible. I think we were actually, well, certainly me, and I think a lot of people have the same opinion. We were surprised when we saw the 75s match racing in Auckland, how similar it was to what we do on the World Match Racing Tour.
Right.
Obviously, huge differences with the foiling, but the patterns of the pre-start
Fundamentals.
were surprisingly similar. And I guess that was the reason that I was brought in. That and it's well known that I have a very clear structure to the way I match race. And with the two helms, Ben was keen to bring in a structure that allows the two helms to work together and understand what each other's thinking and trying to achieve.
Almost like a mediator.
I mean, no, I wouldn't say that. I think what I think I contributed the most was building a framework and a language around how to approach a match race start that then allows them to debrief effectively, communicate what they had in mind, where there were, you say mediator, of course there are times when they have something different in mind, and being able to discuss the reasons why they had what they had in mind and try to come to conclusions as to what was the better option or the lower risk option or the higher risk option or and what goes into that decision and also and then how to communicate it in real time, because I think all boats there was a hierarchy, there is a hierarchy, and Dylan was often trying to understand what Ben was looking to achieve and being able to have a quick way of communicating, understanding what therefore what key information to provide him with, is a huge part of that two helm dynamic, which still I think has quite a long way to go.
Sure.
But I think
I think from the outside, looking in at Ineos with Ben and Dylan, it seemed to gel and work quite well. I thought the way Dylan handled,
he was awesome.
Dylan, there's a lot of pressure, obviously. But Dylan and Ben seemed to get on really, really quite well.
I thought Dylan smashed.
Yeah, there is a lot of pressure, and the pressure of all your communication being broadcasted, I think, is a
as we know
live is an added pressure as well, and not wanting to give things away as well. You have your communication, but at the same time you don't want to give all your strategies and plans away to the other team for the next race.
I think though we saw it when Tom lost Goody, that's disrupted the entire process. So it was just visual very quickly. I think the Dylan Ben relationship was, as with Nath and Pete, they just seemed to gel, but it was a pretty impressive effort.
Yeah, it was a really, really interesting dynamic, with the two of them, and Giles as well. He was, he was involved. He was in every session. Initially we obviously expected it to be Ben and Giles sailing the boat. So a lot of the work I did was initially with those two together sailing against Dylan. And yeah, for me, working with the different levels of experience and the different personalities and trying to get everybody on the same page, that was really what my role was.
I'm really interested. One thing we promote heavily on Baccarati, we think it's an incredible important part of sailing, because sailing's got to be fun, but is banter. And so we wonder, and we put it out to the audience, like, what would you change about the Cup? And one of the things that came back was that the main thing that everyone wanted was a banter button where you could hit the button and you could do a bit of
back to the other team,
the opposition, and say
good old-fashioned Aussie sledging is what you're after, right?
Basically,
now you got it.
We're back to the cricket again.
Yeah.
Warning would have been a legend.
Are you strong on that stuff, mate?
Yes and no. It's definitely something that comes into the World Match Racing Tour. There's plenty of chat there. It's really good fun. One point in our career, we actually appointed somebody on the boat to be the
professional
sledger.
banter.
Yeah, exactly.
What a job, guys!
Now
Imagine
Parker
that.
would have done it like Richie Benno.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that you can put the other team off. There's I guess like in the cricket, there's what's appropriate and what's not. But it's definitely part of it. And I do agree. It's all, it's difficult with the cup boats, isn't it? It's a little bit anodyne in that respect.
Go on, Boise.
Really get
Do your sledge.
You don't.
No sledging required. No, I'm just saying, kind of, what other sports do we get to listen to, like the skippers or the drivers or something? And F1 is probably one of them. And we get the odd, not necessarily the slip of the tongue, but the frustrations of the drivers, which then comes through, and that turns into the story. That's the story of what happens. And I mean, the Dutchies are probably the best at it, for sure.
I do. I won't mention the story again because we've told it so many times on Bar Karate, but we did have a match racing final once where one of the skipper of one boat comment was so funny that the opposition boat were all laughing, had fallen over laughing, but when he looked around, his whole boat had fallen over laughing too, and both boats were no good at all. So that's the sort of stuff we're looking for, like to that level. But the banter button...
There's definitely a danger. I mean, as always, it's about putting the other team off more than you put your own team off. That's
it's a bit wrong when your own team's rolling around in hysterics.
Exactly.
And you mentioned, you went and did your first international regatta and match racing in New Zealand. You became a fan. You bought all the gear. Did you happen to pick up a New Zealand passport at the time? And are you going to be replacing Pete Burling for Team New Zealand?
You heard it here first. No.
We had this inkling. We thought it was coming.
Yeah.
I mean, incredible story, isn't it? I don't think anybody saw that coming.
No.
Did they? But yeah, interesting times,
mate.
That it is.
What about? We have to mention obviously the GRC Pinder support. Andrew Pinder in your camp. He's an amazing man for our sport. He does a lot, and I guess we probably need to mention that relationship's been important for you and helped.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Andrew's support. We started as Team Pindar in 2006, which was really when I was just getting going on the World Match Racing Tour, and I couldn't have done it without that support. And he's still with us. As with Pindar by Maniport Logistics for the last World Championship in Shenzhen in 2024. So incredible, enduring relationship, and it's been massively beneficial for me, and hopefully has for him and his businesses as well. But across the sport, he's involved everywhere, isn't it? It's not just with me. Huge supporter across the sport.
It's not a sailing regatta unless Andrew's there, I think, is the rule. The basic
yeah.
Especially
not an important one anyway.
There is some sort of a corporate area.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Yeah. I've got to say, I don't know about you blokes, but we've nearly got to an hour, and I reckon it feels like we've only been talking for about 3 minutes. So
I was just about to say something along the lines of that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Once again, we find ourselves with a part 2 coming.
Yeah, well, maybe. What do you reckon? So we're getting to, because we're near the end, I want to ask this one question. If there's a kid listening that wants to take you on one day, what are your strengths? What do you think that you do better than somebody else?
For me, I think the key to our success has been how you integrate the team together. You lean on everybody's strengths. You work on the weaknesses, but also when it comes to it, you try to hide them. And really that team dynamic has, when I started, it was all about trying to find, sailors to sail with that were better, that, knew more and were better than me, that I could learn from. I'm getting on a bit now, but I still have guys who are better than me, and a load of guys older than me on my boat with more experience and more knowledge. So I guess it hasn't changed.
Yeah, it's an interesting Interesting.
Are we allowed one question each?
Yeah, of course.
Before we shut it down.
Yeah, go, buddy.
Ian, do you want to tell us about some of the parties that you had in Malaysia, especially after when you won, when you got taken into the palace?
Yeah, maybe I'll pass on that one.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Kids might be watching.
Yeah.
Who's your most feared opponent when
Oh.
you get to the final? Who's one you don't want to be racing against?
I mean, I guess it's
no way
changed
you
a lot
mention
over the years, hasn't it? I think Jimmy Spittle reached an incredible level particularly in certain conditions, in steady, powered up conditions. He was just unbelievably fast. And there were some regattas we just couldn't get near him. Going up against Ben was incredibly tough, really aggressive. I talk about trying to keep the umpires out of the game. That was basically impossible when you were sailing against him. But he, did an incredibly good job of it. And then you'd say actually he's pretty similar with Taylor Canfield. Won a couple of match race world championships that I think should have been mine. And similar, actually, very very good at using the positioning and the umpires to get the upper hand through the dial-up phase and all that has been really strong. And then obviously the king himself, Russell. I was sad that he kind of dropped out of the circuit before we were good enough to really sort of go up against him. But I did sail against him quite a few times when we were sort of just getting into it, and learned a huge amount about the positioning and the approach and everything from him. So I guess I probably missed some that I should have said, but those four were big influences in terms of driving us forward. Yeah.
Do you still I'm lucky enough to sail with a few of the guys that did sail with Russell. They still talk about it. They talk about a particular dial up or a particular whatever it was at some regatta in 1997, and it's like it's folklore almost.
Wow.
Like it, it's unbelievable.
It is funny when when I see people that we used to race against 20, 25 years ago, and we still have these reminiscences about like you say, a particular dial up, and some incredibly funny times and situations that came up. It really was good good times being on the World Match Racing Tour and doing this sailing. I remember sailing against Graham Hansen. It was must win. We were in Italy. Trofeo Roberto Trombini. It was 2-2 in the quarterfinals, and we were both trying to get to our ends, and he was taking a leak off the back, and Rasmus was steering, and he was on starboard. We were on port, and we basically ended up not deliberately in a dial up trying to get to our own end at 2 minutes to entry, and he fell off the back, right, because he's taking a leak, and the boat's suddenly in a dial up. He falls off the back. Classic example. Everybody's just laughing their head. A hugely tense moment, and then everybody's laughing their heads off. And the downside, unfortunately, is he went on, won the race, and then won the regatta. So it's you have these moments, and I chatted to him about that. I would have forgotten that, but I literally saw him the other day, and we laughing about that incident. So a lot of fun times were had.
Oh, I've got one more question.
Oh, so
how many times did you hear Tony Ray sing Johnny Be Good at the Long Beach Yacht Club playing the piano?
I didn't count, but I'm so sad to be missing Congressional Cup this year. I'm not sure whether he's doing it again or not, but yeah, fun, a lot of fun
times.
Do you remember your biggest prang?
Biggest prang. I mean, I remember one getting bowsprit on a Far East 28 in the push bit. We were dipping Eric Monin, and we managed the bowsprit just slipped inside the push pit. And then we, literally
See how it
spun
happens
2 or 3 times
sometimes.
around. Yeah. And it was just such a mess. But yeah, I mean, I tell you what, that epitomizes the World Match Racing Tours. We got the damage, cost afterwards, and it was, I can't remember, it was €1,000 or something. Decent amount of money, but considering it was just such a massive thing, was not that much. We did the regatta in the M32 the week after and broke a tiller extension rushing past a buoy, and it was €800, and that was that I think was showed where the M32s were not the right boat for the World Match Racing Tour. The concept is low maintenance, low cost in the equipment. You can have the big crashes. In Monsoon Cup one year, the owner Patrick Lim thought it'd be fun to have more crashes, and so he said, right, there's no damage deposit and there's no Rule 14, no points deduction. We had Francesco Bruni pinned out at the boat end. Yeah, you'd have enjoyed it, BP. We had Francesco Bruni pinned out at the starboard end. He just bore away straight into the side of us. We had a guest on board who fortunately stayed on board, but it was, the back of our boat got, thrown to the side. I think his plan was if he could actually make our boat unsaleable, then they'd have to abandon the race, and maybe we'd get some sort of resale. I'm not sure what he was up to, but but yeah, that trial didn't last that long, I have to say.
No, that wouldn't have lasted very long.
That's no points.
Fair.
Wow.
We had some good crashes though.
Mate, good stories, Ian. You're a good storyteller. This has been too much fun. Unfortunately, the fact that we have to end it. I think we will come back to you another time. But yeah, great conversation. Really appreciate you taking some time to chat to us, mate. And it's just been awesome.
No, thanks for having me on. I've enjoyed it.
Thanks, Sam. All the best for all the upcoming events and whatever happens next. Also, we didn't get to ask you what you think it was going to happen in Cup World, but maybe we'll save that till next time.
Yeah, no, sounds good. Looking forward to coming back.
Awesome. Nice, mate.
Cheers.
Just a little bit of an exciting moment, boys. Ian Williams, talking match racing, it was very hard to sit on my hands and not overstate a few things because, as you made a few subtle jokes there, Bicey, with Supercoach, and I'm just thinking, God, can you imagine, being hit at that level?
Mate, I think your calling is about to come, Jordan Spencer. You should have dropped a few lines to him.
I agree. I think it's just it's on the surface. It's bubbling away.
But how good, Ian?
Great.
As mentioned, good storyteller. Just scratching the surface, as a matter of fact.
Oh, mate, how quick did that hour go? How quick did the hour go?
I mean, yeah, like I mentioned, didn't even get to ask about the Cup and his thoughts and everything that's happening in the UK at the moment. But fair to say, one of the probably most accomplished, certainly in the last 20, 25 years anyway. So within worldwide yachting, what a champion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very cool. I do want to say, speaking of accomplished, if you're looking to accomplish anything, you want to grab the Radix Nutrition, their breakfast meals, protein powders, all the rage for
he's a pro. He's a pro, isn't he?
I often wonder
He's
if
Triple M haven't even called you. He said, Jordan, can you join us to do some segues into some ads for us?
That's what you pay the big bucks for. Anyway, but yeah, if you want to grab some Radix Nutrition, and we suggest you do, use Barker80 as your discount code, get a discount on us, and just keep smashing it. Just take life to a whole nother level. But yes, I do enjoy doing those things.
Through health.
Hey, there you go. BP's ripping one off. There you go. I love it. Cool. All right. Events coming up. Given that we just talked match racing, we have to mention the Fricker Cup. It's a Grade 2 match racing event, Long Beach, 25 to 27 April in Long Beach in California. So that will be one of great interest. So there you go for the match racing fans out there. And if you're in the US, there's nothing going on over there. So just you want to entertain yourself, cruise down to Long Beach.
Cruise on down.
Cruise on down.
Could be good. Yep.
Jack Lloyd, listener of the week. Because we're recording this really early because Easter's coming up, so we haven't had much time to get a build up.
The listeners haven't really got a chance, have they? For this one?
But we did get
Plus, there is an email or a message or an Instagram message or a messenger or a WhatsApp or an iMessage that we've all seen, but we can't.
Or a true social or something. It's disappeared off of the planet.
So,
what was it about, Nick?
It was about big heads, believe it or not, and it was aimed towards you, my friend.
Yeah, Josh sent it through. He sent me a link.
Was it Josh? We chatted about this off air. Was it Josh?
Yeah, I think.
Well, yeah.
There's a debate out about it.
Nah, yeah.
Yeah, Bicey thinks it was Jacob. I think it was Josh. But anyway, it was suggesting he was sending me a link to where do you find big hats for big heads, and the commentary about the hats, the reviews were just hilarious. And I'm spewing that we've lost it, but just send it again. We'll do it twice. We'll do it next week as well. That's probably the easiest way to
handle it. It's in the draw for two weeks in a row. Imagine that. Good on you, Josh or Jacob.
And just quick one from my side. Shout out to Stevie Branner. Sent a note on how inspirational Tracy's episode was.
I've got to say, I mean, it's early in the week. It's early in the week as we record this. I'm still getting messages, obviously, through various forms. But, extremely unbelievable chat.
Yeah. And see you in a couple of weeks, Stevie. Look forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah, getting a lot of feedback on that one, so that is quite good. Very, very exciting time. But yeah, and of course thanks to our friends at Vycobi for providing the $200 voucher each month for the listener of the month. So make sure you send it in, your notes into cheers@barkarati.com. Then we don't have to look for it, and we don't miss it, and we don't find it.
It must be coming up. I don't remember the last one.
I do.
Coming up.
Yeah. No, I track it. I track it 100%. So
that's why you're on the big bucks, Jack. Couple more weeks.
Yeah, we did it. Yeah, we're all good. I know exactly when it's got to be, but I track it.
Good.
All right.
It's hot time with Bice.
Oh, it is hot by the looks of it.
Need to give the
there.
fourth leg a call, actually. Harrison will catch up for lunch next week.
Nice work.
Yeah. What hasn't happened? It's only, like you say, recording quite early in the week. And we still really haven't got to the bottom of all this cup stuff going back and forth and up and down. But that is keep a close eye on this, watch this space in that particular scene at this point in time is going on there. But the big news out of the US today.
Oh, massive.
Friend of the show.
Yes.
Charlie Enright has just been named CEO of US Sailing. I've got to say, what a man. Good man. And if you were, I guess it's a bit of a weird one, because if I didn't know who it was actually getting this job, is it someone jumping on the grenade? But if it is someone that you do know, and with the caliber of Charlie, for example, is this something we can see them coming out of what's been a turbulent few years?
Yeah,
Jordan, I know you'd probably got some good thoughts.
Well, he's got the job is to get grow the funding, grow the participation. That's basically the job. So, and Charlie, obviously, first American, I think, to win the ocean race.
Correct.
They got the funding. They got that relationship with 11th Hour, and we love the team at 11th Hour. So he's been able to create that whole corporate program and run that, and then he's kept it ongoing. Like Francesca Klepic, I think, is running the program. Is sailing the boat now. We should get her on the show. Actually, why haven't we got her on the show?
We tried to.
Did we?
Remember? Something happened.
But she should be a good conversation. We'll get her on the show. And yeah, so I think there's that sort of corporate element, that ability to communicate. He's been doing it for a long while now. He's based on Rhode Island, so he's in the sort of headquarters of US Sailing in many ways. So I guess that's it. But I think it's more about growing the sport and growing the revenue base, I suspect, is what would be part of it. It's a tough job, though. Good luck, Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, bloody beauty. Take it on. He's all fired up, ready to roll. So good work, Charlie. Rightio, what else is on, gents?
Well,
We've got Melbourne Osaka, of course.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of boats are dribbling through. Our friends on the live, not much breeze going on. I haven't had a look at the tracker for a while.
Well, I'll tell you, Zero is finished. Finished today.
Yeah. So
first boat home.
First boat home.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I guess we're just going to watch them kind of trickle through now from this point onwards, right?
Yeah. I have had comms on board the Secretary, and I think they're in full cruise mode now, given they had a few things. We'll reach out and I'll try and record it. I've been meaning to get a record with them, but most of the boats are it hasn't been easy conditions is all I'll say. Probably a lot of light winds. So the Secretary is currently, it's roaring 40. Hang on, I'll just check that. I think one of the boats here, is it the Secretary or roaring 40, is turned around heading the wrong way. So, the Secretary's going. They're out. Okay, so they're heading for Bundaberg. Okay, all right. Okay, they're going the wrong way. Bundaberg, they're going back for the rum.
Well, at time of recording, they've probably tucked into a couple of at time of publishing, rather.
Yeah.
Other news, boys. Pittwater Coughs. The news I picked up there. Koa took line honours.
Yep.
Fantastic effort.
Congratulations to them, long-time campaigners. So well done.
Yep.
I mean, it's a pretty nice race, that little one.
Yeah.
Just up the coast, unless it's on the nose. Speaking of on the nose, Jordan.
What a disaster.
You will be joining the commentary team, as mentioned at the top of the show, commentary team of the Brisbane to Gladstone.
Yeah.
I'm guessing similar setup to last year on the broadcast, free to air on, what do they call it? It's on KO.
It's on KO. It's on, you can get it off their webpage, the Brisbane to Gladstone webpage, or you can watch it live on YouTube. But the start would have happened by the time this goes there, but
sure. But copy that.
Yeah. But like we promise every 1 in 20 years, it's always the downwind, southeast trade winds.
I'm having a look.
It's not good. There's a massive low setting up just off New Zealand, and then there's a high coming out, and she's going to be zero wind. I've done one of these races where it's zero wind, sitting in the middle of that ocean, just going nowhere for 3 days. Does your head in.
Time of recording. Let's go. Let's pop our little hoopanay there. Right. Fancy that. Zero wind to start with. At the start.
Thanks for a riveting conversation, Joe. I'm looking forward to it.
Light northerly to kick things off. Now let's move to midnight? Oh, yeah. Nor'wester. As you turn left a little bit and head northwest, the breeze goes a little bit left as well. So it's a little nor'wester.
So it's not even on the nose, it's on the head.
It's just a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
Oh, well, it does swing through to the west, so it's going to be nice flat water reaching in about 6 knots.
Yeah.
And then completely craps out. So, yeah.
Yeah. Make sure you stock up on the radix is all I'll say.
Make sure you and it'll be quite warm, so your
cold drinks.
Rabbits filled with rum when you bite the ears off.
Yep. Just stocked up.
Oh, yeah.
Just stocked up.
Just watch.
Easter rabbits, remember them, the Bundy rabbits.
Yeah,
not allowed rabbits on boats. So
Annika and Tomo, they're going for line on it. That could be, they've definitely put their hand up as that they want to do pretty well. So, on the Ocean Crusaders, their TP. Yeah, so we'll see how they go.
Very good.
Jesus, I've just moved my little thing, my little
Oh,
dot,
good on you.
and maximum I'm seeing is 7 knots.
Look, you know what I'm worried about? I'm pretty sure, I haven't checked for a while, but I'm pretty sure it's an outflowing tide at the start. And no wind, and I'm just wondering if somebody gets swept over the line and it takes them a good hour or two to get back.
Good couple of hours to get back. Yeah.
Nerd.
Anyways, is Warro doing this?
He was going to. He was entered, and he's got the new mast in the big boat.
Got the new stick in. They've officially got themselves out of shitterall contention. So well done. Congratulations.
Sandrift.
That was on the top of the list of hot tire.
Yeah. Apparently the sandrift on the back of that cyclone means you can't get the boat out of the Gold Coast.
Murder.
Yeah. So
murder.
Yeah. So he's not coming, is what I'm told. So it's a bit of a bummer. But
yep. Bit of a bummer. What else we got going on?
We were going to have. I had a great conversation with my mate Niall Kinch during the week about what boats should we go sailing, right?
And
Niall and
Sharpie, Rainbow, pretty simple.
Well, I think it was a conversation, and I mean, do we? I don't think we do it now. We'll do it another show because I think. We
could turn it into like like the school debates, and you join the debate team. Yeah. And you can get someone to fight in your corner.
Yeah.
So have a team. The rainbow team will be phenomenal. One.
I can see that. I can see the merch and the all your little group, with your little flags.
Might do some recruiting now.
Well, I wanted to talk about
little flags and banners. When do we want it? Now, that sort of thing.
I wanted to talk about our BK1 idea and how all the different thoughts that went into what it was going to be like and how we wanted to do it. And I wanted to bring that up. But I mean, let's just leave it another week. I don't want to do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do that. So do a little more prep and have a bit of fun. But obviously I did think in that whole match racing discussion, I did think about the rainbow class and, the match racing practice you can get.
Could possibly be one of the better match racing boats on the circuit. Don't even have to take the spinnaker down. Just use it upwind.
Squeeze it upwind. Yeah, you just.
Well, you need a good crew. Yep. End friend, no. We'll whisker back and whisker forward again.
Just tack it. Just tack it everywhere you go. Bloody good, lads.
Yeah, great work.
Awesome. BP, you got to go to work.
Yeah, I got to go to work.
Got to pat the camp trailer ready for Easter. So at time of listening for Easter has been done and dusted. Hope everyone had a good one, whether you're out yachting or with your family.
Big safe. Big safe and enjoy.
The best thing is there's going to be a whole bunch of people sitting just off Kagari or Fraser Island, not going anywhere on yacht. Should be downloading this episode on Sunday. Let's listen to Barkarati. That's what's going to happen.
Well, at least I'll get the weather report.
Yeah. For the start.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. There's that poor bastard who was over the line, still can't get back.
Oh, imagine that guy. By then we'll know who it is. All right, lads.
All right.
Awesome.
Good one. Thanks again, Ian,
nice,
for
boys.
joining us. Nice to see you, blokes.
Yep. See you, lads.
Remember to write to us, Cheers at Barkarati, if you want to send us any info. And, go to Radix Nutrition.
Prize coming up.
Merry Easter, boys. Have a good one.
Go to Radix Nutrition.
My hands are getting a bit sore.
The discount code. And, thanks again to Kobe. And I have got my Easter bunny loaded up and my mum ready to go. And my wife's got one. We're all happy.
My way.
Very good.
Do slide guitar with an Easter bunny, people.
Well,